Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the next episode review of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Today, we're going to be talking about episodes 3 and 4, and I have a special guest joining me today. She's a very awesome cosplayer friend that I know in the community, and I'm super excited to geek out about She-Hulk. So I want to introduce everyone to my very good friend, Allie Whoops.
Hey.
Hi.
All right.
Yeah.
Episodes 3 and 4. I feel like the show has just gotten better and better as it's gone on. So exciting as we go.
Yeah, I'm like loving it like every week more and more. It's just so great.
The consistent complaint I'm hearing is that the episodes are too short, but I think that's actually quite a strategic move that Marvel's leaving people wanting more with this show.
Yeah. Like the way that they're like ending each episode like abruptly is kind of funny.
Oh, every time I go, oh, it's already been a half hour. Well, now
Yeah.
I'm sad until next week, but okay.
Yeah, so I think before we get into the episodes, I think like last time with my other guest, I did kind of like how we got into the character of She-Hulk. So I'm curious to see how like you yourself got into loving She-Hulk so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of got into comics as a whole because I was very interested as a result of the Marvel movies, but I didn't know where to start. And
Yeah.
My now fiance, but just friend at the time, kind of started giving me some digital comics while I was living in America. I'm currently in Australia with him now. And once I moved over here to be with him, we started building the comic collection together, but he already had a pretty substantial backlog that I'd never read. So one of those was, it's here somewhere behind me, I'm sure, but the Charles Soule She-Hulk series.
Okay.
That one's just like a 12-issue run or something like that. And so I just picked up that and started reading it one day, and I was like, oh no, I love this. I love her. She's fantastic. And then like that was like my first interaction with the character, and I really enjoyed her, but I didn't find that I really connected with her until the Mariko Tamaki series that I've got here. When I believe I was given the first issue of that as a gift. And
Yeah.
in that series, it's like post Civil War too. She's dealing with the trauma of losing Bruce and going to therapy and dealing with like really significant anger issues that I feel like you don't often see portrayed in a female character. And like that was the series where I really went, oh, I connect with her deeply. And I started getting other She-Hulk comics everywhere I could find them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like for me personally, I'm a big Fantastic Four fan, so
Yeah.
my first introduction to her was like way back in the John Byrne Fantastic Four run.
Uh-huh.
So that's when she ended up joining Fantastic Four and all that. So I was intrigued by her because of course she's like a Hulk. She's like her cousin, but
Yeah.
like she just is a really like underrated, interesting character, and I just like
I
everywhere I
totally
could
agree.
find a comic of her about her, I would get it sometimes. So, but
Mm-hmm.
like the past few years, I like really have grown to love her like a lot.
Yeah. I haven't read the Byrne Fantastic Four stuff. It is on my list, but I did get my hands on some of the Byrne She-Hulk run recently, and I've started reading
Yeah,
that in the last couple of months. I haven't finished
like
it all yet,
like
but
this.
oh, it's so good. That's excellent.
Yeah.
I have like the big completed, like it's not like
Oh
it's like
yeah.
all in one trade because I'm a
Yeah.
cheapskate, instead of
Yeah.
single issues.
Yeah. I have plenty of trades. Trust me. They're just a lot easier to find and get. So
Mhm. Definitely. I'd love to get that single issue with the famous Rip Up Your X-Men cover someday.
yeah. All right. So episode 3.
All right. The People versus Emil Blonsky.
Yeah, we get to see Emil Blonsky and that whole interaction between like like the actual hearing itself. We met him
Hmm.
in episode 2, and Jen agreed to take on his case because if she
Hmm.
didn't, then she wouldn't have a job. So she kind of got forced into it by Mr. Holloway. So
Hmm.
we actually got to see her do her lawyer thing and like present to the board, or parole board, whatever, about Emil Blonsky. So
Hmm.
it was pretty cool.
Yep. With Wong as a witness and the seven soulmates watching. Love the seven soulmates.
That was great that they brought all of them in.
It was so good. And I've really enjoyed seeing like GLK and H, like, the whole Dan Slott, that collection of characters. Like, even she's
Yeah,
very brief, but Mallory Book popping in, and I think that's the third episode. I was like, her, she's
yeah,
somebody.
yeah,
She matters.
yeah.
And then
I mean,
honestly, oh, sorry.
that's I was gonna say she's probably gonna be a major player in the rest of the season. I'm hoping, because like in the Dan Slott run, she's pretty significant character.
Mhm. Yeah, I've I've gotten about 3/4 of the way through that run. I haven't quite finished it, but I'm almost there. I'm getting close. I've done most of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've noticed a lot of similarities between the Dan Slott run and this show. Like they've like
mhm.
literally pulled out some aspects of that comic. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, I had read prior to the show releasing that the two main inspirations were going to be the Charles Soule comics and the Dan Slott comics, and I was like, two of my favorites. Because of course, as I was saying, I love the Tamaki run, but that requires a Jen with a lot of backstory to appreciate what she goes through in that series. You can't start with that; it wouldn't be appropriate at all.
Yeah, and considering that this is a comedy show, like a
Exactly.
courtroom drama comedy show,
Oh,
it
good.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
I think
exactly. But it's such a fun vibe because it's unlike anything else we've had in the MCU so far, and it's just
mhm,
so fitting, especially given like her history in the John Byrne comics when she was like that original character out here breaking the fourth wall,
yeah,
just having fun, and I really love that about her. Again, I feel like um, there's a lot to be said about the history of female comic characters and such that we're not here to talk about today. But
yeah,
She-Hulk, I feel like, is one of the first ones who was constantly represented having fun, and I really love that about her.
yeah, and you definitely see that in the show.
Absolutely, and it makes me so happy to get to see that.
Yeah, I think they've really nailed like her core characteristics in this show,
Hmm.
and it's just really good to see for sure. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
like for example, just the most obvious example is the post credit scene.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I love it.
Not to skip to the end of the episode, but I mean, it's like
It's
that's
just
classic
so
She-Hulk
good.
there.
It really is. And it's very much like obviously there is a lot of people making commentary about it, but it's like, but have you actually like read an old She-Hulk comic?
Yeah,
Because like, if dancing like that had been a thing in the 80s when that comic came out, she would have been doing it in the comic.
exactly. And like even like the example of her like jump roping while she was like naked or something that I've
Yeah,
seen.
that was the thing that she did back in
Mhm.
the 80s.
Yeah,
She's always been the happy Marvel party girl.
yeah, like
And
fun,
I
like
mean, yeah.
fun loving character. It's who she is.
And that feels very represented in the show, except when she puts on her lawyer face and is like, "Oh, everyone around me is nuts. This is okay." I very much enjoyed the sequence in episode 3 where, because obviously we get the introduction of Wong in the series in this episode. And I
Yes.
love that he didn't just stick around for episode 3, but continued into 4 as well. But like
Mhm.
when they're sitting, and she's trying to explain to him why they have to do things by the book, why the fact that he didn't get like an NDA signed, for Kamatage and stuff like that is a problem.
Yeah.
And she's just like, okay, I'm the only one who understands why this is an issue. I guess probably that was episode 4. Sorry, back to
It's
episode
okay.
3.
Well, we do get to see her do her her lawyer business in episode three
Mhm.
with the abomination hearing and such. So like when
That
she's
was
presenting the case to the parole board about how Emil Blonsky was taken out of the prison against his will to like fight Wong so that he could
mhm,
train for his Sorcerer Supreme training or whatever.
mhm.
And like it was it was really funny like how she handled like that whole situation with um
Mhm.
Blonsky transforming into Abomination to like try to prove that he's in control. She was like, stop it.
I really enjoyed just Abomination, taking up all the space in the tank. He's just sitting there like, "Hi, everyone,"
Yeah, he was like, oh,
very
it's
calmly.
you know, I'm like, it's all good. I'm in control. I'm not gonna hurt anyone.
It was good, and they made a really good argument for Blonsky in that show as well, which I was kinda like, "Okay, but how are you going to come at this?" And,
Yeah,
the entire argument of, well, he was kind of forced into being the Abomination against his will, wasn't he? It was sort of,
yeah.
you know, continue his livelihood in the military, wasn't it? And
Hmm.
then showing that he's made the significant changes. I very much enjoy the sequence where they're speaking with Carl, the officer at the prison, who's like, and he saved me from a bad marriage.
Yeah, like all the people in the prison that he helped
Yeah,
and such.
it was
So
very
like,
good. I think one of the other things I like was as they're leaving the prison, then they make the reference to the comic way of how Jen originally got her
yeah,
powers. Because there's a reporter who asked her, "Is it true that you gained your powers in a mob hit gone wrong?" I think I
yeah,
squealed when that happened.
yeah. I was like, oh, there it is.
You did.
And also the rumor that she was rejected by the Avengers.
That was good too. I liked that one a lot.
I was like, wow, they'll just say anything to get a news story, right?
Mm. But it definitely also feels like the sort of thing you would see, like, because in the pre-established Marvel universe that we now have in the MCU, if somebody gets powers, of course everybody's gonna go, well, of course she want to join the Avengers. She's not in the Avengers. She must have been rejected.
True.
Except it seems Titania also has powers and is known to have them because like I noticed when they're doing the headlines of like Jennifer Walters is representing Emil Blonsky, like if you look at like the little tape thing running at the bottom of the news flash, it's talking
Yeah.
about superpowered influencer Titania in legal trouble, which
Yeah.
boils to a head in episode 4. So it's like, okay, so she gets to go around and have powers for whatever reason. Nobody wants her to join the Avengers.
It's true. I mean, like even in this episode, Jen is still trying to deny the fact that like she's like, I don't want to be a superhero. I just want
Mhm.
to be a lawyer. And like I think by the end, she realizes that this is her life now. Like this She-Hulk
Mhm.
is not going to be going away anytime soon. So
I do think definitely when you get the wrecking crew ending at the end of the episode, that's when it
yeah,
starts to really click together of this is not going anywhere. And then in episode 4, you start to see her embrace it a little bit more. And I'm really excited to see where we go from here now that it's like, okay, 4 episodes, we've laid the groundwork, smash
yes,
some things.
yeah, yeah. So also there was a sub like storyline in episode
Mhm.
3 with Dennis. Like, what were your thoughts about that?
So, and this is the part where, because I'm really certain he appeared in the first. Full confession, I only got to rewatch episode 3 and 4 before this. I didn't leave myself enough time to also rewatch 1 and 2.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain Pug appears briefly in 1 and 2, but I didn't realize until about halfway through episode 3. Oh my goodness, that's Pug from the Dan Slott comics because
Yeah.
he's so entirely different. He's a lot more confident,
Hmm.
just in general. This Pug, and I'm kind of really about the confidence that he's displaying and not kind of just being a sad man in the corner.
Yeah.
So I really like this new Pug and representing Dennis Bukowski. I enjoyed that subplot. I noticed as I was rewatching it again that when they're making their final argument and there's shots around the courtroom, wherever they've got Megan Thee Stallion sitting is so perfectly positioned that wherever the camera is, she's sitting behind someone. So you
Hmm.
don't see it until the verdict's given and
Yeah.
she has her little cameo for the first bit. Absolutely brilliant. I knew she had a cameo in
Mhm.
the show. I didn't know what to expect, and it was better than anything I'd
Yeah, I didn't like expect to see her like actually like show
in
up
the
in there.
courtroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we took a little clip of her in the YouTube video when Pug's preparing for the case. I was like, oh, that's her cameo. She's, a shapeshifter playing herself, and then she pops up in the courtroom.
Yeah. There was only one Megan Thee Stallion.
It was so good. Um, Runa was also very fun. I enjoyed her a lot. It's also, again, just really fun to see, like, because again, we've got now She-Hulk as a show is like it's in its best time in the MCU because if they had made this show earlier, you wouldn't have this wild, crazy world that we now have with like New Asgard. It's like a thing that people accept now in
Yeah,
within the universe. We couldn't have had things like Runa if they'd made this show 5 years ago. It's
true.
like we are now at peak. The MCU is a little weird, and She-Hulk's here to embrace it and make light and have a good time with that.
Exactly. And it's one of the reasons why I like the show a lot right
Mhm.
now because like especially after like No Way Home and Doctor Strange, like those were two very big and like serious movies.
They were.
So like seeing this show is kind of like a breath of fresh air. And
It is, and I love those serious movies very much, but serious
mhm,
movie after serious movie and, TV show that is huge high stakes after huge high stakes, the world's gonna end TV show. It's like, oh look, a sitcom. Oh, thank goodness. WandaVision started as a sitcom and then they got me. And it was excellent,
mhm,
don't get me wrong. But it started as
yes,
a sitcom and then they got us.
yep,
They could
and
just
it's a
keep making
comedy. So
Exactly. They could just keep making She-Hulk and rolling with the changes of the MCU as it continues to evolve from here. And I think that would just be fantastic. I want 12
mhm.
seasons of this. I want it to air for the rest of my natural existence.
Yeah, I would love to like see more She-Hulk after this series is done. Like, I mean, especially like with all the new like phases coming out in Marvel in the
Mhm.
future. Like, I would love to see her like fighting with the Avengers, like officially, and
Mhm.
in the movies. And
Oh, if she
it's
doesn't have a little Fantastic Four suit at some point during her run in the MCU, we riot.
I hope so. That would be amazing.
But then again, like that's another opportunity. Like if they make a season after we meet the Fantastic Four, like she and Ben Grimm are pretty good friends. He'd be
Yes.
an excellent addition to this show.
Oh
There's
yeah.
just a nice cast of characters, with her there as well. I really enjoyed. I was kind of worried when like episode 3 had like very clearly this subplot with Bukowski and Pug was gonna be a big deal, but it was
Hmm.
still really delightful. And then their entire defense hinged on, Dennis is an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jen did that like perfectly, like how she testified. I was cracking up. I'm like, oh my god,
Oh,
that was
yeah,
great.
it was very
Uh,
good. And then I also believe, just checking my notes here, because right after that, I got the little bit about how I really liked when Emil says to her, that they're going to write a story about you either way. You should be part of it.
yeah, and that's something that she realizes like
Mhm.
quickly in that episode. She actually goes on this on live TV and an interview and like trying to
Starts
set the
to
record
embrace it.
straight and say I'm not She-Hulk, I'm Jennifer Walters and Abomination is Emil Blonsky. So
Mhm. Yeah, and then I appreciate that as we see her go on, she does start to become attached to the She-Hulk name,
mhm.
and I think that's really special the way that they handle that because it is kind of like oh yeah, of course she's She-Hulk. That's not very creative, but also that is a character that has existed for so many years and meant so many things to all of us that of course we still want to see her use the name.
Yeah.
And I think they handle that transition of her getting slowly attached to this name, despite the fact that it is a derivative of her cousin's title. I,
Yeah.
I think they deal with that really well.
exactly. We've got some people in the chat. Hello. And Trisham, it's a very good point, like we were talking about.
Exactly, basically what we were saying. It's just so good to have something that isn't, if She-Hulk doesn't make it, the universe will collapse in. I mean, I guess you could argue episode 4. You know, Donnie could have done some damage, but
yeah, definitely. And we'll get to that.
I feel like Donnie was more of a threat to himself, probably.
True. Very true. So, like, I think the whole wrecking crew scene was, I liked it a lot.
Iconic. Oh, it was. The weapons looked really cool with the choices that they made for them as well. And I do appreciate, again, just with the humor of the show, that did you all rob an Asgardian wrecking crew, or not wrecking, sorry, construction work site?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
It's just, yes, we did. And then that's kind of like the first fight we get to see her in, which was exciting.
Yeah.
First time we get to see her like fully using her powers, but not like training with her cousin.
Mm-hmm. It was funny, like how she like reacted when she realizes, oh yeah, I'm a Hulk, and she just transforms and then like beats the crap out of those guys. Like, I don't know how they would be able to like walk after what she did to them.
And then, of course, I've been debating, for 2 weeks now. Oh, no, sorry, that was only a week and a half ago now. Who is boss? Do you have any predictions?
I mean, I've heard possibly the leader from the Incredible Hulk movie. I've heard that rumor. I mean, there is a chance they could bring him back because they brought Emil Blonsky back from that movie. But I think, also, like, who do you think?
I think leader's definitely a good one. Classic Hulk villain. My others are just kind of spitballing that I don't necessarily expect to be true. Maybe more wish listing than anything. Like, because we know Hood's gonna rock up in Ironheart, and because like we've seen set photos of him, and he's worked with the wrecking crew before. Street level villain who might just go, I want that. One of my other thoughts is potentially, what if the power broker is looking to get her blood to use it for whatever?
Yeah. Sharon
Carter. We've got power broker established. Yeah. And,
I didn't even think about her.
Yeah. One of my others, it's a very, very far reach, and it is more of a, I just want to see this character and I think she's great. But when Hawkeye was coming out, there were strong rumors that we would get Madame Mask, and those did not eventuate. And sometimes MCU rumors, they get scrambled in a little blender, and things that are coming out around the same time we say are coming in this show when they're actually coming in another. And I'm like, please, Whitney. I don't need her. There's no reason I need her. There's no real reason it should be her. But if I can wish list about a villain, I just want to see.
Yeah.
So again, it's Hood's other half, and we got Hood.
Another one I was possibly thinking about was possibly Kingpin.
Yep, that's another very, very likely one, especially with, Daredevil's going to pop up in a minute.
Yeah. I'm so excited. Especially after that trailer that they just released. Like, oh my God.
With the preview for the upcoming episodes, absolutely. It's taking everything in me not to like be sharing that one all over my social media, but I'm not, because I know there are some people who are avoiding knowing more about the episodes until they come out, so I haven't. But I've been watching them myself and going like,
so excited.
Oh yeah, no, I've enjoyed a lot of Daredevil comics. He's not one of those characters that I get like jumping up and down out of my seat for, but I really, really like Charlie Cox's interpretation of him.
Oh yeah.
And his little cameo in No Way Home was just perfect. And that is my favorite part of the Charles Soule story, is when they team up after fighting each other in the courtroom, and then by night they're being superheroes together. And oh my gosh.
I can't wait.
So
I just
excited for that.
can't wait to see them like interact. Like we get a little snippet of it in the new trailer, and I
Mhm.
can't
Yes.
wait.
Also, I love that he's wearing the red and yellow suit. I love it so much. It's just such a it's a little ridiculous, but I kind of love it when my heroes look a little ridiculous. Like comic heroes, by definition, are silly. Let them wear silly, bright colors, please. Oh, I
Hmm.
love Daredevil in yellow. It's so good.
Yeah, and it's a definite nod to the original uh,
Mhm. The
comic.
old school suit, yeah, it's
Mhm.
which is a
And
nice place to start him in the MCU.
true, yeah, and I love that Marvel has been like kind of replicating uh, the superhero suits from like the comics. I
Mhm.
really love seeing that.
We're getting more and more really good suits that look very, very much like their bright, over the top comic counterparts, and I love that.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of, um, not to deviate and talk too much about another show, but one of the things I really enjoyed about Ms. Marvel was that she kind of slowly built her costume as the show went on, rather than just the reveal at the end. But like she had bits and pieces from family and friends that started to look more and more like her
Yeah.
costume. And
Hmm.
like I feel like in She-Hulk, when we see her fighting the demon creatures in episode 4 in that little purple dress, like it is a dress, it's not a jumpsuit,
Yes.
but the way it fits her kind of brings to your brain that really old school purple jumpsuit.
Hmm.
And it's like we're starting to hit those notes of things that are springing in your brain, thoughts of She-Hulk costumes. Oh, I just can't wait till we see the reveal in the show. Oh,
Yeah.
it keeps me up at night.
Yeah. And you yourself have been working on yours, and
Oh my
it's
goodness.
looking
Just
amazing.
just slaving away at her.
Yes. I love
Not
it.
done yet, but I'd like to by the end of the show, but we'll see. I'm pretty busy lately, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it looks great so far.
Thank you so much. I have been designing it since those images on the thermoses leaked back in March. Those are when my first sketches of what I thought it must look like from the front, back, and side are from. And
Yeah.
then I went, no, but I'm going to wait until we have official images. And then I started to get too excited, and we got those other leaked images that are now on t-shirts. Like even the back of this t-shirt I'm wearing has one of those images. And I was like, no, I'm close enough. I'm starting.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you have a blueprint, I think you're gonna be fine. It's gonna
Oh
look
yeah,
great.
I know I've definitely got a couple of little details that aren't quite it, but I think once it's all together, it's going to hit enough of the right beats. Pretty excited.
Absolutely. I'm hoping to get mine finished by the end of the show as well,
That's
which
excellent.
which isn't gonna be too hard because it's gonna be just like lawyer She-Hulk, not like the
Oh, I love a
actual
good
like
lawyer
suit.
She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Love a good lawyer She-Hulk costume.
Yeah. So
I'm very excited to see it. It's going to be great.
thank you. Let's see. Was there anything else about episode 3 that you really reached out to you, like spoke to you?
I'm just checking my notes here.
Yeah. Or if anyone has in chat has any questions, feel free to ask.
I think I just enjoyed throughout the whole episode, like Wong just having perfect comedic timing with everything he does.
Yeah.
When they're like, "Hey, you helped a felon get out of prison," he's like, "I must depart," and just
Yep, I'm
sling
out.
ring right out of there.
Yeah,
Just every
that's
time he appears, every time he leaves, his timing is excellent.
and I love that he's been appearing in like a lot of Marvel projects lately because he's just fantastic, and
Oh, he's
I love Wong.
wonderful, and just using him as this string to tie together the current phase is real good.
Yeah. Uh, so I guess we
Mhm.
can talk about episode 4 now.
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna be honest. I did hear Donnie Blaze as Johnny Blaze
I,
the
I
first
know.
couple times I said it.
I was like, wait, did he just say Johnny Blaze?
Yeah, no, I went Oma, and then he goes, "Oh, I'm going to show you something, a little bit more." And I was like, "Oh, Ghost Rider, sweet." No, it's
No,
Donnie. Possibly his lesser known cousin. We don't know.
possibly, yeah. Marvel has a way of
Tying these things
making.
together, and if he's a magician working in a crappy magic castle, maybe his cousin works at a crappy circus down the street. We'll see.
Yep. So so the
I mean,
episode opens up with Donnie doing his magic act and is not doing so hot. So he ends up calling um someone from the audience, and I think a lot of people like loved her. Madison with two N's and a
I don't
Y,
know
but not
why,
where you
but it's
think.
not where you think.
Hey.
The best thing to grace my television all year.
She was just hilarious.
Oh my goodness. Everybody, the cast who worked on the show kept saying, "Oh, you're not ready for Madison. She's going to be the best thing." And I was like, whatever. I didn't even know. She's not anybody, right? And then she pops up on the show, and I was like, oh, with much the same energy of, She-Hulk's I would kill for you, Megan. I would kill for you,
Yes.
Madison.
Yeah. So like Donnie ends up opening up like a portal to forgot where it was the first time, but she ends up going to this like other dimension or
Mhm.
realm, whatever, and then she ends up falling into Wong's living room, basically.
Mhm.
And I mean, I know a lot of people were kind of upset about this, but I personally have not watched The Sopranos, and that's my own fault. So much like Wong, I was spoiled by what Madison said. but
See,
but
I
that
know that technically Wong was suing Donnie for gross negligence and that, he could make reality collapse on himself, blah, blah, blah. But also, Wong was kind of suing him for spoiling a TV show for him indirectly. It was a
basically,
little
yeah.
bit of a lawsuit, spoiler lawsuit.
Yep. But yeah, like the main reason he gave was he was misusing the mystical
Mhm.
arts for his own like magic act. Um, and he was actually a former student of the mystic arts at what's it called?
Kamikaze?
Yes, yes. So he ended up getting kicked out and starting his magic business.
Hmm.
And
Getting
so
kicked
he
out
goes,
because he summoned 3 kegs and his
yeah,
former fraternity brother.
yeah. So he ends up going to Jen and asking her to like help him, like sue him for all that. And that's when she goes into the whole, do you have an NDA or a contract? And he's like, no, just a verbal contract that they'll be loyal to the Sorcerer Supreme and Matt. So it's like that whole conversation was funny.
Oh, excellent. Ah, the Book of the Vishanti
No, the Book of American Laws.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just excellent. Like, yeah, we already went over, Madison and how she is just absolutely wonderful.
And I'm sure we'll see more of her. I
Oh, I'm
hope.
sure we will. I love the bit how she keeps coming back to and the story kind of grows every time she brings up the goat demon that saved her. Because it originally starts with he took 3 drops of my blood. I think his name
Hmm.
was Jake. And then later in the courtroom, she's like, I cannot discuss this pact, or he will reap the souls of me and all that I love.
Yeah.
I just love how we just kind of keep expounding on that story. And I just really hope somewhere down the line in the MCU we meet a goat demon named Jake.
Or
I don't
possibly
know
another
where or
demon.
how. Sorry?
Or possibly another demon that has been hinted at since like uh, wait, WandaVision?
Yeah, the big devil man. I mean, he has a
Mephisto.
more interesting name, but also the big devil man.
Absolutely. And I'm sure once he shows up, it's gonna be bad. But
It will, in fact, be very interesting.
yeah.
Not, yeah, no, I do hope if Mephisto when he shows up has a right hand man named Jake the Goat. Excellent, beautiful, I love it. No notes.
Yeah.
I would love to see something like that. Yeah,
But like getting into like the whole like dating uh
that was
sequence of Jen and She-Hulk. Like I found that one of my favorite parts of the episode, to be honest.
it was excellent, and yeah, I really appreciate the differences in, like, when she makes her profile as Jen, even once Nikki helps her kind of improve it a bit,
Yeah.
versus the response she gets as She-Hulk. And even that one
Mhm.
of the guys she gets as She-Hulk is like just some mega fan who wants to ask her a bunch of questions. Um, Very much enjoyed that. Enjoyed watching little Jen walk around her apartment in the morning in her oversized clothes for getting ready to go to work because she will grow into them by the time
Yeah.
she's at work.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that very much.
And
Um,
I just love her interactions with her dad too. Like even in the previous episodes, like when she went to
mhm.
the family dinner and he's like pulls her aside and it's like, "Hey, are you doing all right?" And like it's good to see that good relationship that she has with her dad,
Yeah,
and the fact that he came all the way to her apartment with with a shovel,
with the shovel.
trying to help her out because she got attacked. But she's like, "No, I'm good. I'm a Hulk. I'll handle it."
We do love supportive Dad Walters. He's such a wholesome dude. And again,
It really
just
is.
more female characters in media with positive relationships with their father, please. Love to see that,
Absolutely.
especially among female heroes, often orphaned or abandoned or whatnot, and just like, nah, Jennifer's
Yeah.
got a pretty decent family life, if not just a teeny bit overbearing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that whole the family dinner scene was
From
pretty
episode two
funny.
is very good.
She's just like, get me out of here."
Uh,
But yeah,
yeah.
like seeing Jen try to go on a date like with that
Mhm.
first guy that she went on a date on and that whole part where they were like slowly getting up to like leave and like who's gonna pay for the check and
And then he just pulls out phone's like, bye. And
it's like, "Oh, thanks for the drinks, bye." She was like,
very
"Okay."
good.
Eh,
Now I appreciate we do the one bad date as Jen, followed by like 3 or 4 bad dates as She-Hulk. I think it was
yeah.
3.
Yeah, it
Mm,
was yeah.
Would have
It's
been
a
the
really
3
strong
because then
guy. It was a really
yeah, she's
strong
got the gym
guy and
bro, the Sundance director, and the
yeah,
fan before the
yeah,
guy that
yeah,
looked good but turned out to not so much. I guess my
yeah,
suspicion is that that's one of those dudes that he knows what to say because he wants something, and then when the woman's not the woman he wants anymore,
yeah.
well, he just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah,
We've all
he's
seen a few of those in our lifetime.
yep.
Broke my heart a little for her,
Yeah,
but oh yeah, they're out there. They're out there, even if yeah.
yeah, like, um, like that whole, the part when she ends up, like, taking him back to her apartment with her, and, like, they were just, like, having a conversation, and, that's the moment when, Wong was trying to get into contact with her, and she kept ignoring it, like, and
It
then
was
she
very
just
good.
it just pops up and says, "Why aren't you answering your phone?" It's like, "Oh, I know."
I very much enjoy that Donnie Blaze comes to Wong for help, and he's like, "And what can I do?" And Wong's like, "Just call my lawyer." Wong,
Yeah.
surely you have the phone number of other Avengers. You don't need to bother your poor lawyer. She doesn't want to do this hero thing.
Yeah, not yet.
I mean, surely he knows somebody else he can call. I think Steven's off fighting incursions or something. I'm not exactly sure where that falls in the timeline.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we've established that or not. I don't know. If so, it's too early here in Australia for me to be thinking about it. There's got to be somebody who can help you along.
Yeah.
Just let Jen have a date.
I know, a good date.
But it is
like I love how she was like monologuing the whole time that she was fighting those demons.
it was excellent. And again, we get to see another Jen actually fighting scene. And this one, which challenged her a little bit more than the Wrecking Crew, that she basically just kicked in circles. Like these
Yeah.
demons offered a little bit of a challenge, if not just due to their sheer number. And that she hasn't really had a lot of experience being a Hulk. But
True.
again, as she's going and monologuing, she's making herself angrier. She's getting stronger. She's mad. She's missing her date.
Yeah.
It was a really good sequence.
Yeah, and I love that they got to have a little team up there between Wong and She-Hulk, trying to get the demons out of there. And it was really interesting, like that they didn't like die; they just like kept growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, keep throwing against a wall, it would just get bigger. But
yeah,
I'm not sure if those were actually based on something we've seen in Marvel lore. They might be. I don't pretend to have read everything, but
I was trying to think of something like as I was watching it. I'm like, they don't look like anything I've seen.
Yeah, I didn't recognize them, but admittedly, some of that's where some of my Marvel blind spots would be. So
same. We're not all experts, guys.
Exactly. Just thinking if there's anything else in that bit. Yeah, I already mentioned that I feel like the purple dress she was wearing in that sequence kind of gave vibes of some of her like old purple only suits.
Yeah.
And just kind of like we're kind of slowly progressing towards and more vibes that we like.
Yes.
More vibes of costumes. I do very much appreciate her very iconic, will become iconic, I believe, get the fries to go line. That was good.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just the sequence of her carrying him away at the end of the evening. And it's like, we love a strong woman.
Yes. I certainly do. I like
Mm-hmm.
all the women that we've seen in the MCU so far have been amazing. And I can't wait to see more show up. Like,
yeah. But it's good to have
like,
somebody who's different and their power sets are different. Because I think it's really wonderful that we now have so many more women in the MCU, because it felt like for a very long time, representing women as a whole kind of fell on Natasha's shoulders. And
yes.
Natasha is wonderful, but not every woman relates to her. But now we're starting to get women who exist in a variety of situations, have a variety of personalities. And hopefully everyone is finding someone that they relate to and makes them feel seen. And I think that's really special.
Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. And like for me, some of my favorite Marvel characters are most of them are women.
Yeah,
like
same.
if I'm being honest. Like for me, the character I'm most excited to see is Invisible Woman.
Yeah, of course.
From Fantastic, yeah, from Fantastic Four. So like she's always been one of my favorites, like for a long time. And like when this show was first announced, like considering She-Hulk has, like I said, become one of my favorite female Marvel's characters. When they first announced this, I was so excited. I was like, what? Like she's actually coming.
Yeah, I think I wept a little bit when they announced this, because She-Hulk, she's in I find it a bit tricky to narrow down sometimes my favorite, but She-Hulk's definitely in my top 3.
Yeah.
And she's one of those characters that, I think a lot of women wish they could be more like her, because like I said earlier, I find her very inspiring, because I always have appreciated that, especially I find in the Dan Slott comics, She-Hulk likes to have fun, and yeah, she likes to party, but she is never looked down on or seen as stupid for enjoying these things. In fact, she's a brilliant lawyer. Like, she
Yeah.
can be both.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoying being a fun-loving woman does not exclude you to being a ditz or anything like that. And with She-Hulk, we've always kind of seen that. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I think every woman wishes that when we want to go out and have a good time, we could just protect ourselves like she can.
True. And
I
like,
think there's a lot to be said for the commentary within that part of her narrative as well. I love that about her though. I think She-Hulk is one of those characters that I definitely have connected with her and her anger issues and things. But also she's a character that I wish I could be more like.
mm-hmm.
She's inspiring. And not for like the inspiring, all because she's a hero who always does the right thing. Nah, because she's just a woman here to have a good time, but also be successful and kick butt.
Exactly. And she's not ashamed of it either. She
Exactly.
just,
I love that she's so confident and so unashamed. But if you've also read, have you been reading the new Rainbow Rowell She-Hulk as well that's coming out?
yes, yes.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying that and how like in the book she like when I'm not caught up. I'm a few months behind on my issues because I've been traveling and busy.
Yeah.
But she has a conversation at one point with Jack of Hearts where he's like, "Oh, but you're She-Hulk. You've always been the most confident woman in the Avengers." And she's like, "Yeah, and I hit a rough patch and now I'm rebuilding." And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like especially like after the last couple of years in the world, a lot of people have hit rough patches. I know I did,
Yeah.
and trying to rebuild
Mm-hmm.
to the confident place you were before that is it's really
Yeah.
freaking good.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I like, one thing I love about Marvel is that
Mhm.
they make movies and TV shows that we can like directly relate to, like in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. Like, for example, with WandaVision, like it was all about grief and dealing
Yeah.
with it, and like that, I know that struck a lot of people like really
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah, I cry every time I watch WandaVision. I've rewatched it multiple
Um,
times. It just I cry like a baby every time. And
yeah.
the Wanda, that is another female character that so many people can relate to, and especially
Yes.
wives and mothers who have experienced loss.
Hmm.
And I know I already said this, but I just think it's so important to show a variety of women in a variety of situations.
Yes.
And I'm glad that in She-Hulk, we have somebody who is kind of dealing with this duality of herself and how she's going to balance that. And I'm really appreciating how we're dealing with it so far. We're not through her story yet, but her
Yeah.
finding this balance of how much of her is Jen and how much of her is She-Hulk, especially when unlike Bruce right off the bat, she is balanced within and the same. She doesn't lose
Yeah.
herself.
Hmm.
And even though it's as a funny moment, I really appreciate the moment where she's building her second matcher profile and is like, instantly popping off with tons of notifications. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is a terrible self-confidence hit for Jen."
Yeah. She's like, I'm not proud of this, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
I really liked that bit. And yes, it is very funny, but I feel like a lot of people can relate to that in different ways. Because I keep saying that, showing female characters and things representing that, but I'm sure there are also other people who see lots of representation in this and see themselves in that.
Hmm.
It's not it's not just for yeah. It's not just for feminine presenting persons. Lots of people can see themselves in it.
Exactly. Okay. I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but
Mm.
like after Jen ends up like spending the night with the hot doctor, the guy
An
wakes up
overrated
and
trope.
yeah, he just kind of like jets out the door like as soon as he sees her, and
Yeah.
like I said, I felt really bad for her in that moment. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like because it obviously he only liked her for
The
She-Hulk and
She-Hulk
not
part.
for Jen, and
Yeah, which
then
is of course he didn't know the Jen part, but it's the fact that he wouldn't yeah, he was only interested in the big green strong half, didn't want to talk and learn about the other half.
Mhm.
Also, that it kind of gives way to this idea that his entire, oh, I respect women and I just want to hear about you thing is a facade to get more women. And it's
Yes.
like, oh, you might actually be the scummiest of all of her dates, my good sir.
Then she was like, "Oh, the hot doctor's more it's just cliche anyway. Whatever." But then, like immediately after he walks out the door, the guy comes and serves her the
I recognize
the
a due process
summons.
server when I see one.
Yeah. Yeah, so we find out that Titania is suing Jen for the trademark of
Oh.
She-Hulk, her own name.
Yeah, and that's where you
Like,
start to
what?
get the, I didn't pick it, but I want to keep it.
Yeah. Because honestly, she probably couldn't think of another like better name, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Well, I wonder if, sidetracking a little bit just for a second, if with Bruce jetting off to Sakaar, if we're eventually going to get that point in comic history where Jen's just Hulk, where Bruce is off the table and she's just Hulk. I think she's going to be She-Hulk for a little bit more first, but I think
yeah,
it would be really cool if we eventually just, no, that's the Hulk now, like she was for a while after Bruce's passing in comics, before he
yeah.
comes back, because what is death in a comic?
Like, what is death in the MCU? Unless you see a body, they're not dead.
Yup, yup,
It always
absolutely.
happens.
I don't believe for half a second Wanda died at Wundagore. No,
No, she's too powerful for that.
no.
She
Um.
she's still
Anyway,
alive.
yeah.
Like,
So
I
I
feel like
wonder if we.
I sorry, I feel like
No,
there's
go for it.
more definitely more story to tell with Wanda for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and Wundagore's awfully close to Latveria. Where she lived for a while her sons were looking for her. Not
Yeah.
not that that matters or anything, or not that the Fantastic Four are coming or anything, but
Not that Doctor Doom
coincidence.
is coming.
Not that Doctor Doom's on his way.
I'm so excited for that, to be honest.
My goodness. Oh, very exciting. But coming back to She-Hulk and being served by Titania,
Yeah.
because I wasn't here for the last stream you did about episodes 1 and 2. I just have to say that to me the most exciting casting of this entire show was when they announced that Jamila Jamil was going to be Titania. I lost my mind. I have been such a huge fan of her since The Good Place, and
Yeah.
following her on social media, she just seems like she's always very genuinely trying to make real change in her communities that she interacts with. So to see that she was entering the MCU as probably one of my favorite female villains, I absolutely love Titania and how absolutely extra she is. And the
Yeah.
flavor she has brought to her so far is just absolutely incredible. Beautiful update for Titania for the modern era, where you can kind of bring in that, yeah, she's almost kind of like a dark She-Hulk in a way. Like, She-Hulk gets her powers and becomes a more
Yeah.
confident version of herself, whereas Titania gets her powers and just keeps hiding her insecurities deeper and deeper. And it's always kind of been like that in the comics as well. But by making Titania a social media influencer in the new series, you can kind of have some commentary on that, and where that can kind of lead her to hide under this persona she's made. And even though she has powers, her confidence isn't real, and it's built on stepping on others rather than building them up.
Yeah.
And I'm just so excited to see where they go with her from here. She appeared for 30 seconds in the courtroom, and I will love her forever.
Yeah, and like the fact that she's suing Jen over her own name is hilarious. But I'm excited to see more of her.
My money is on that Matt Murdock is her lawyer, and that's how he's going to be introduced. I have no proof. That is what I think. Also, that feels like the kind of idea that Titania would go to her lawyer and go, I want to sue She-Hulk. And Matt Murdock's the kind of lawyer who would go, cool, she hasn't trademarked her name. We're suing her over that. I don't believe for a second that Titania's smart enough to have thought of that.
Yeah, that's a really good theory, actually.
I, I don't roast me, internet, if I'm wrong, but that is my personal little. I think that's going to be how Jen and Matt meet in the courtroom. Is going to be he's representing Titania.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
Like,
I think it'd be really cool if that is what we get.
yeah, and I was trying to think of like ways that he could show up.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously one of the obstacles in this situation is he's in New York and she's in California. So like,
True, but if Titania's an influencer, she's probably moved around a lot. Her legal team
true,
could be anywhere.
true.
Or we
Yeah.
might, maybe we'll start him, in another place and then he can move to New York after to found Nelson and Murdoch or something like that. Murdoch and Nelson. I'm sorry, I can't remember which way the name goes. I do
Nelson
like
and Murdoch.
Daredevil, I swear.
But yeah, like, um, yeah, the post credit scene was pretty funny between
Oh yeah,
Wong.
that was vodka and yak milk. That sounds rancid. Oh my gosh. But also I don't know if they do bottomless G&T, but we're gonna find it. And of
Yeah.
course, Wong's gonna be known as Wongers on the internet for
Wongers.
forever, and I love it.
Wongers.
I just really hope that when Steven comes back from, whatever he's doing with the incursions, I hope we get to see him at some point interact with Wong's new best friend Madison. That like in his absence, Wong now has this new best human friend that he watches The Sopranos and gets froyo with,
Yep.
who cannot remember her own address, made a pact with a demon named Jake. I love her little introduction when they pull her into the courtroom and she's standing at the club. She's like, I'm going to show you my dance from high school. Every
Yeah.
word out of her mouth is pure gold.
And I love it when she actually saw Wong in the courtroom. She was like, Wongers!
Just
It
say
was
you were
like, did
texting 911. They can't prosecute. And even you can't have that drink in here. You can finish it. I'm not sick. Everything. I don't know. How do you write a character that everything they say is gold? She doesn't have one single wasted line. Every bit of it's just hysterical.
She definitely
So
fits
good.
in with the show for sure.
She really does. I also, in that scene, highly enjoyed Donnie Blaze's legal team down to his lawyer also being a magician, pulling scarves out, and
Yeah, that was.
that you can
Jen's
clearly
like,
see
oh my
his
god,
lawyer.
even his
Yeah,
lawyer's a magician.
his lawyer, and just, that you can see the lawyer hide the rabbit behind the little blanket that Donnie's got.
It's great.
It was very good. Yeah, that was all the courtroom scenes are very good. I think they're all pretty reminiscent of the energy from the courtroom scenes in the Dan Slott comics, because
Yes.
again, we're taking a lot of inspiration from the Charles Soule comics too, but I think we're going to see more of that as we see Daredevil come into play, because that's the series where he and Jen, go against each other in the courtroom.
Yeah.
But the energy from the Charles Soule series, because he was a lawyer before he started writing comics, is a lot more serious. And while that is brilliant to read, and I'm so happy it exists, at the same time, the Dan Slott comics have this sort of chaotic courtroom energy that is fitting in with the show that we have. I don't know if you noticed, but like when she first comes to GLK and H, she walks past a room that's full of comics, like like they have in the in the Dan Slott comics. This whole weird world with it, like, oh, because it's authorized by the Comics Code Authority of America, these are legal documents, these comic books, and we can use them in court. It's just absurd.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely absurd.
It's amazing.
So yeah, we're getting some of that same absolute chaos.
I'm all for it. Like,
It's I really
it's just
appreciate that that's how it ended
definitely.
up. Mm-hmm.
I just
And
love that. It's a kind of a mixture of like courtroom drama, like the other lawyer shows that we see on TV,
mm-hmm,
and also comedy and like
mm-hmm,
regular like Marvel like action,
mm-hmm.
and all mixed together.
I
I'm
think it's
so
truly
excited.
something special.
Yeah,
It's everything that I hoped it would be, was confident it would be, and then some.
yeah,
I cannot express enough with my entire heart how much it means to me that this show exists exactly as it is. And yeah, oh,
yeah,
it means the absolute world to me that this show is out there representing what it does in every aspect. And that it's just, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people who have, while I do not agree, I have really loved everything Marvel's put out in the last couple of years. I'm seeing people who don't feel that way and they feel a bit burnt out, but this show is
yeah,
drawing them back in, and that's really great too.
yeah. And I think once Daredevil comes into the mix, I think a lot more people will come back. Hopefully,
I think so. I think Daredevil's a big draw for some people, and I'm hoping it's
yeah,
a positive draw because obviously there is some toxic discourse around it online, and I'm a little worried that Daredevil's going to draw a few more of those people in to watch and
yeah.
complain. But at the end of the day, you don't need to listen to them because this show wasn't made for them.
No, I mean,
And
what I've been saying this whole time, like, despite all the toxic and hateful
mhm,
people out there putting this show down, um, like the fact that they're putting other people down for actually liking the show is
mhm,
not really cool of them to
no,
do. Like, I mean, if you don't like a show, then you don't have to watch it. I
yep.
mean,
And it's not what comics are about as a whole. Comics are so huge and so varied over the extremely long time that Marvel has been running now. There is a story in there for everyone. And in that, you're going to find not every story is for everyone. There are stories that are not made for me amongst them. And I
yeah,
don't go on live stream to talk with my friends about those stories because I'm here to talk about She Hulk because to me, she's just one of the best of the best.
yeah. And that's exactly why I wanted to have you on here. That's why I
Well,
invited you.
and
'Cause
so
I know,
delightful, very
yeah,
fun.
yeah, I know how much She-Hulk means to you and how much you love her. So I knew
I think.
that, like, I was like, I have to invite her.
Thank you. I think she's an incredibly special character, bringing something wonderful to the MCU with the creative team behind this, and just the writers, the directing, and even the costume design, as we
Right.
discussed. It's all something so fresh and new and unique, and everything that She-Hulk deserves. Because I feel like when she first came into comics, it was kind of just to protect a copyright with her name, so there wasn't so much thought put into it. But then when John Byrne got a hold of her in the 80s, she
Hmm.
became something so fresh and new and unique, unlike
Yeah.
comics have really seen. And now with her introduction to the MCU, we're kind of getting that same energy of she has always been a character that is here to, push the boundaries and make something new.
Hmm.
I love that about her.
Yes. And I have a feeling she's going to be a huge staple in like the rest of the
Hmm.
MCU going forward. I have a
Yeah.
feeling.
I'm interested to see what we're going to see when we inevitably see her crop up in other content that isn't her show, because I feel like much like the vibe of characters is changing a little bit to fit in with her show, like because Wong always has witty timing and stuff in other movies and things.
Hmm.
He's always funny,
Yeah.
but his vibe is definitely a bit more lighthearted in the She-Hulk show,
Hmm.
even more. So I'm going to be interested to see how she shifts a bit when she goes to other shows. Like, I kind of doubt she'll still be talking to the audience in an Avengers film or a Defenders film if we get that. But
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what choices they choose.
Yeah. I mean, And, like, I personally would love to see her, like, interact with just Fantastic Four and, like, some
Oh, I
like,
hope
the other
so.
Avengers, and, like, I'm just excited just to see more. That's the
I'm
base
thrilled.
of it.
I think they've got to make her at least, quite friendly with the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I wondered before the show started airing. Now that it's airing, I'm not feeling like it's so much the vibe. But I wondered if in the show we might meet, Ben Grimm before he becomes the Thing. Maybe he's a longtime friend of hers because they're quite close in the comics.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be interesting if you met him just as Ben before he is also the Thing? But
That
I
would
don't
be
necessarily think that's going
amazing.
to happen anymore. It was just I snowball predictions out there left, right, and center of what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that. And I get really excited about them. But I'm not one of those people who think gets disappointed when they don't come true. I get excited about what actually happened too.
Mhm. And I think that's, like, the basis of what people should think, like, going into watching this show. I mean, we should
Mm-hmm.
just accept it for what it is and like it for what it is.
Gonna be a little different. Some people want more serious content. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
There's more serious content too.
Mhm.
But this is so lighthearted and fun. And I think that episode 3 after credit scene is gonna go down in history.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just dying during that.
It was
It's
amazing. It was
like, I wasn't expecting it, but, like, I'm not honestly not surprised because of how, She-Hulk is as a character.
it was very fitting, and I feel like it was one of the first times in the show we saw her really kind of loosen up and embrace herself as She-Hulk, like, having a good time as a
Yeah.
Hulk,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yes. This is the She-Hulk that we know.
"Mhm, exactly."
Um, I mean, that's kind of basically all I have for episode 4, unless you had anything else to add.
I think I went over pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, the episodes aren't that long to begin with,
No,
so
they're pretty
not
quick.
not like an hour-long episode each, but
No. Sadly, but also, like I mentioned earlier, I think there is also a cleverness to Marvel leaving people wanting more with this one. I think that's
yeah.
something that some people were unhappy with other shows that have happened, was that it felt
Mhm.
like so much was being thrown at them at a time. And so by giving us these itty bitty bite sizes that you can just quickly slip in wherever you have time to watch it during the week,
Yep.
and then at the end you're like, oh, already been a half hour.
Yeah.
Uh, it's generating its own hype. It's such a good show.
Yeah,
Anyway, thank
so
you so much for inviting me to
yeah,
come,
of course.
get really excited about one of our favorites.
Absolutely. I mean, thanks for, joining me. This
It's
was
been
a lot
great.
of fun.
It was a great time.
And, hopefully you'll, be able to join me for the rest of the streams.
I believe if the schedules are still the same, I should be good to be on the rest of them as well at this stage. I
Okay.
think I'm all good. Because we've got it's 9 episodes of the show, right?
Yeah, and
There's
I'm
gonna be a
doing,
5 and the last 3 together.
yes. Mhm.
Cool. Yep. So there'll just be 2 more, and I believe I'm free both the times we discussed. So should be all good to be back for the next ones. I guess I'll see you then. Thanks again.
Yeah, so, like I said, guys, thanks so much for watching, and thanks again, Allie, for, joining me.
Thank you for
Um,
having me. It was wonderful.
uh, so, we will see you guys next time. Bye.